We have some big news coming in for gold, silver, and copper because in the last 24 hours, we've had some major developments regarding the Iran conflict. So we're going to go through these, exactly what they mean for the markets, what is actually happening, and what most likely is going to happen in the future, what both sides are saying. So you have all the alpha and you're aware of how this market is holding up. And I have some good news as well. And if you guys enjoy the videos, just like it and let's get straight into it. So the first thing we need to know is we haven't seen a massive capitulation at all. Silver held the line like an absolute boss in the last, 48 hours. And you can see right here, if we zoom in on the daily, on the hourly chart, silver actually bounced really nicely off the critical, $71 line right here. And it's actually recaptured the $75 mark. So look, that was a very, very important line. You can see here previously on the TA, it got down to that. You don't really want to go below that too much because then you can, start to go into the 60s. But it bounced off that line and now it is sitting at about $75. It is pairing up with the bigger, broader news of the geopolitical space that we'll get into. And, you can also see gold doing similar things. Recapturing the $4,500 level, which is very welcome. And copper as well, holding up incredibly strong as well. So a lot of the metals looking super solid despite the volatility that is happening. Now, the big news you need to understand is we're still, unfortunately, right in the middle of the stalemate. And nothing is really getting resolved at all. So even though, look, there was a little bit of a drop down in the oil prices, that we can see in the last 48 hours. I have to say the situation really isn't, it's not resolved at all, and we'll talk about that right now. But if you have a look right here, breaking: President Trump Situation Room meeting on a possible deal with Iran lasted for 2 hours, but did not end with a final decision on any new deal with Iran. The Trump administration believes it is close to an agreement, but there are uncertainties, including the unfreezing of Iranian funds. So this is the same story we've heard pretty much the whole entire conflict. So I think this conflict is actually more accurate to assess it on the actions, not so much the words, because the words at this stage, they're almost meaningless. Like even reading these tweets and announcements, it's actually meaningless because we haven't really seen any concrete evidence of either parties really coming to an agreement. They are so far apart. And I just don't think, it's kind of a tough situation to observe because both sides are not really, catering to each other at all. And it's just ugly for the world economy. That's the honest truth around the situation. So it's very unlikely that Iran will give up its nuclear weapons and nuclear materials right here. So they don't have a weapon, but they do have the nuclear material to make a weapon. And that gives them a lot of leverage in these negotiations as well. But because there is no trust, and if you actually read this is actually quite an important tweet coming out of the Speaker of Parliament from Iran. He says, "We seize concessions not through dialogue but with missiles. In negotiations, we merely make them understand. We have no trust in guarantees or words. Only actions are the measure. No action will be taken before the other side acts. The winner of any agreement is the one who is better prepared for war from the day after." So that is, that is the truthful story of this whole entire conflict. So there has been so many fake words, so many fake statements, so many fake agreements coming out of this conflict. And the only thing that really matters right now is the actions that are coming out, right? So this is interesting. And so it looks like they are both, worlds apart in terms of agreements. You can see also on the other end that the Iranians are making progress with Oman. So they've got like an agreement together with Oman to, administrate the Strait of Hormuz. That is what they're planning to. But at the same time, look, the US is not happy with this. They don't want to go through this. You can see right here, Trump, another monster tweet, putting it out there over on X. But we've seen so many of these tweets before. It's almost like Groundhog Day coming out of Trump saying, all the same stuff basically. And the situation remains. So the key takeaway from this video is nothing is really resolved at all. So it's just a continuing, ugly stalemate that is hurting the world economy. And to bring it back to the gold, silver, copper prices, I do believe though, once, if and when this thing does get resolved, that is when the bull scenario opens up for silver, for gold, for copper, because during this whole time, even though it's been a very funky, situation in the Middle East, you can just understand how much suppression has happened in these prices. So the suppression in the silver price, the suppression in the gold price, the suppression in the copper price. And I do believe, look, once this whole thing is sorted out, eventually, through actions, the will of each country to win this, that's when this whole thing could really explode once again for silver, for gold, and for metals. And remember those fundamental factors that are going behind these types of metals is there's a lot of money printing, right? So even once this whole Iran conflict blows over, the money printing is going to continue. The taxation is going to continue. Where are people going to put their money? Metals are looking solid. AI is a bit of a beast. It's high risk, high reward, trying to figure out the next AI winner. But, one thing that is true, a lot of the metals are required in the future economy, especially copper, silver as well, gold as well. And, that's where, fundamentally, economic growth can come from over the long term. But I have to say, look, bit of a tense situation, quick update for today, but nothing really has changed. And we'll just have to see this, day by day, how this plays out in the future. That is today's update, guys. If you got value out of it, like the video. Appreciate you tuning in. Go have a great rest of the weekend. I'll see you in the next one.